Well, hello and thank you for watching this quick tutorial on how to format your table of content in your prospectus. My name is Brian Ewing, and at the time of this recording, I'm a doctoral candidate at Liberty University and spent some time this last term really struggling with this and discovered that inside of both the qualitative and quantitative templates, they don't do a great job of explaining how to do this easily. And it is easy once you figure it out, but there's really no explanation. So let's get into this. Right now, you'll see here I have the prospectus template qualitative open. It works equally as well for the quantitative. In the background over here, I have my current prospectus that I'm working on this term. And so I've spoken with Dr. Bredfeld about this and asked if I could do a quick video maybe to help you out and save you some time. So let's take a look through it. You're going to have a lot of explanations here at the beginning about formatting, about what they want, and they're going to put in placeholders. So you're going to see, this is your title page here, and you'll notice up here I have the paragraph turned on, and I want to have that shown as I go through my prospectus to make sure my spacings are actually correct. Now, what I tried to do in the beginning was I tried to make my document look like the template, and what I discovered was it was much easier to just copy and paste my information into the existing template. So I would highly advise that, that you take that approach. So as you keep on moving through the template here, they give spaces for everything: copyright, dedication, acknowledgments, abstract, stuff like that. And then you get to this table of content. And this is a little bit confusing. So let's go through this real quick. It talks about what is entailed in the table of content, and then some formatting things here that, your chapter titles will be in all caps. You'll have level 1 headings and level 2 headings. And this is a little bit confusing, and it gives you a little bit of information down here. It says level 1 headings should be indented 1/2 inch, and level 2 headings should be indented 1 inch. Chapter titles are not considered level 1 headings. That's what they've named them in the template, but when you go to actually change what you need inside of your prospectus, it's going to be labeled a little bit differently, and I'll show you how. So here's where the confusion for me came in. You have all of your table of content here, but you'll notice as I go over any item here, it functions as a hyperlink. There are hyperlinks here that will take the reader to any spot in your paper. So if I were to click on any one of these, if I were to click on list of abbreviations, which is page 12, it'll take me to that page, that list of abbreviations. And so, you can set up your whole prospectus and dissertation ultimately like this. Now, my biggest worry was like, man, how much work is this going to be to have to go through and manually change everything? And I was literally capitalizing, writing in these things and going ... and then adding a page number at the end. And then over here on this side, it wasn't justified. The page numbers weren't matching. And there is an easier way to do this, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So let's go over 2 things that you need to do. Number 1, let's look at Chapter 1 Research Concern, page 13. So we're going to click on that, and this will be the beginning of your paper. Obviously, in the template, they just have information on Chapter 1, the introduction, background of the problem, and every other part that you should have. But in the end, what's going to happen is you're going to have these elements: the introduction, the background of the problem. But under your background of the problem, you're probably not going to go just to the statement of the problem. You're going to have other things in this area that are going to be specific to your prospectus. And so you're going to need to be able to name those items and have them inside of your table of content. So you can't just rely on the stock information in the table of content in the template. You have to be able to add your own, and that was my concern. And so we're going to look at this area up here in the Word document. Now, you'll notice when I go to the text, it goes to normal. See that? That's normal writing, normal everything. But when I go to Chapter 1, it goes to Heading 1. And what they've done here is they've actually highlighted all Chapter 1 research concern. They've made it bold, and they've identified it as a Heading 1. Okay? In the introduction, you're going to have to go over, that is identified as a Heading 2. Okay? So let's go back up to the table of content to see how that works. So heading 1, if you label something as a heading 1, it will be justified over here right next to your margin, okay? Even though in the template it calls it level 1, level 2, level 1 isn't the chapter 1 research concern. Level 1 is actually indented to here, but you have to identify these things here as a heading 2. Now sometimes, like down here under assumptions and delimitations, you're going to have things that are actually going to go to heading 3. In their explanation, they call these things level 2 headings that should be indented 1 inch. But you're going to have to identify it as heading 3. You don't go any further than heading 3. So you have heading 1, identifying items as heading 1, which is justified to the left. You have heading 2, which is tabbed in 1/2 inch. Those are things like your introduction, background to the problem, statement of the problem. And then you have things like heading 3, which are like your research assumptions under your assumptions and delimitations. Let's go there and look at that. So if I clicked on assumptions and delimitations, I'm going to go to page 17. And you're going to see that that is labeled as a heading 2. Now when I click on research assumptions, which is underneath that category, it's going to turn into a heading 3, if you see that there. And so that's as deep as you go. Heading 1 is going to be exclusively for big things like your abstract, your dedication, your acknowledgments, copyrights, and then chapter titles. Anything under a chapter title will automatically go to heading 2. Things like assumptions and delimitations. Now, if you have things, if you have items that are underneath this umbrella, that will become heading 3. Let me show you an example of that. So in my prospectus here, you'll see I have my abstract, copyright. I still haven't done anything with the dedication and acknowledgments. That's why it's got the words optional there. But you'll see here I have chapter 1, I have introduction, and then I have background of the problem, which is a heading 2. But under the background of the problem, I have 3 things that are kind of exclusive to my prospectus, which is the call to Christian community and literature gap, and then a researcher's relationship to the research. That's as deep as I'll go. I have assumptions and delimitations, and then assumptions and then delimitations there. Now, how do you change these? So once I took all of the body of my prospectus and pasted it into the body here of the template, none of this here changed. And I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out why hasn't this stuff changed. And what I discovered was if you go right above the table of content area here and you left click and drag, you'll see it highlights all of this stuff here. The entire table of content gets highlighted. Then if you're on a PC, it's right click. If you're on a Mac, it could be right click or it could be a 2-finger click. Mine's 2 fingers, so I'm gonna click that. And you'll see this little box pops up and you have cut, copy, paste, and then you have this thing down here that says update field. Now, if you've gone through your paper and you've gone through your prospectus and you've labeled everything correctly, you've labeled your chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, you've labeled them as heading 1, anything under those as heading 2, and anything that falls underneath those umbrellas of the heading 2s as heading 3, this will work. But you have to make sure that you highlight those entire sections and actually label them in this area up here as heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3. Once you do that, you can click Update Field, and you'll get this other box that pops up. And it says, select one of the following options. Now, you can choose to either update page numbers only or update the entire field. If you click Update the entire field and hit OK, what will happen is this entire table of content will now reflect all of the elements of your specific prospectus. And so the stock stuff that's here that are kind of placeholders that they put as the template will no longer be the only things that are going to be there. All of your information is going to be there with the correct page number. It should all be in its correct formatting. These page numbers here, which I struggled with to make them line up exactly right on the right side. They will all look beautiful and wonderful, and your supervisor will be so happy that all of those elements are formatted properly and in good shape. And let me show you just how this works. So this is a concern for some students. It was for me. So we look at the copyright. And when we go to the copyright, what's going to happen is whatever you highlight and label as the heading will actually be the words that go into the table of content. And what many students do is they highlight this entire first line. So let me highlight this entire first line and click on heading 1. Now I've made that entire first line a heading 1. So if I go down to the table of content and I highlight it like I've just shown you, I right click and then update field, and then I update entire table and hit OK. Watch what happens to my copyright section. You see that? The entire copyright section now reflects every word that I just highlighted. You don't want that. You just want the word copyright. So what you'd actually need to do if you had accidentally done that is you'll go up, highlight the entire thing again, and it's heading 1, change it to normal. Now, you're going to highlight just the word copyright, and you're going to make that a heading 1. But you want the rest of it, you want the rest of it also to be bold. So you're going to highlight that and just make it bold. But the only part of this here that is a heading 1 is the word copyright. And you'll see it change up in this area here. Watch. So if I think I have to highlight the whole thing again. Yeah, if I highlighted the whole word copyright, you'll see it change to heading 1. But if I highlight the rest of it here, it stays as normal. So if I go back down to the table of content, which doesn't automatically update, I select it, right click, update field, update entire table, OK. And now the word copyright is the only word that's there. So that is how you properly format and be able to have your table of content have those hyperlinks that they require. It will auto-populate it for you as long as you have named and labeled your entire paper as heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. If you label those things, it will all go in here. And so when you update the field and say update entire field, it will auto-populate for you. It'll auto-populate with those hyperlinks with the proper page numbers reflected in your table of content, which is awesome because chapter 2 will end up being kind of a revolving thing that you do. You'll keep writing chapter 2 as you go and do more research. So that chapter, as you turn in your prospectus, might be 45, 50 pages long. It'll probably end up being 70 to 80 pages long. And so as those page numbers change, every single page number after that will change as well. And so this method of being able to update your table of content automatically, just by you doing a little bit of work, going through your dissertation and relabeling things, makes it a whole lot easier. I had to go through my dissertation recently and make sure that I had everything at level 1, level 2, and heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. And I went through chapters 1, 2, and 3 literally in about 10 minutes. It didn't take very long at all. So once you get those things into shape, remember you just highlight the entire table, update field, and then update entire field, and that will update both the names of the items and the page numbers that are to be reflected there. So good luck as you continue through your prospectus, and I hope this tutorial helped you out. God bless and have a great day.